So it took me a moment to figure out how to finally go live because the scheduled live streams are nuts. I don't know. It's like the second time that I tried to do this scheduled live, and it's not. It doesn't cooperate because for example, when I just on a whim go live, it shows me all the settings like select your devices. Ta 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 ta. Should you schedule it? It's like mini window, and in this mini window, it just like says you haven't selected any devices and it doesn't give you the option. So there's like whole menu underneath and it doesn't show you what you can do, how you can customize this live. So that's the struggle. This is why with I will delete the previous one and we will go with the new one. 31 seconds. Yo, delete forever. So today I'm going to I grabbed my phone to be able to read the comments, some of the questions in the comments. I don't know if you read them through, but I sometimes I give detailed answers that are kind of worthy of some piece of content. And the other thing, I'll go respond to your questions in the chat. And another thing I want to discuss one super cool appliance that I was meant to make video on because it's something that I always have. If like when I moved, I immediately rebought it because moved like minimally, and so I will show you that appliance. It's my favorite thing on the planet, and I'll discuss that too. So wait for people to pop up and start asking questions in the chat. In the meantime, I am going to pull up my comment section. One moment. Hey, uh, nice. 4 days into juice fast currently. How are you doing? I'm doing great. I saw your message that you had some, like some interesting condition recently, so I'm happy that you took care of yourself. 4 days into juice fast, it sounds really delicious. If I wasn't as lazy as I am, I would probably also play with juices. Sounds really cool. I am doing well, thank you. And when you joined, I actually was about to grab a pear to snack on something because I haven't had lunch yet. So, really, really nice. So, think about your questions. I think we discussed super cool things with you. Actually, have it in front of me. And you were asking what was the hardest part of staying raw for me. And whether I am in an easy flow state with it all. So I can talk about that. That the hardest part of staying raw is, I mean, there's nothing hard about it. And the reason for that, I think, is because I initially had a very strong motivation for that. Because maybe you heard my story that I got super terrified about my health, that certain things that I just couldn't cure no matter what, and certain things that I could not get rid of from my life, like refined sugar and such, and just vegan diet wasn't working for me. And so with raw diet, it all my problems literally quickly reversed. So I got this feedback, positive feedback that helped me to stay on raw diet. Was something that happened initially, and then later what helped to be on a raw diet was literally the fact that I continuously kept learning. I kept learning because when you, for example, start being raw raw foodist, from your intuition, from some like feeling that it's the right path and such. When we're dealing with lyricism, with something that is kind of vulnerable sphere of our life, when we're dealing with something very evanescent, something that comes and goes, then it is easy to sway back. So I always preach that knowledge and analytical understanding, comprehension of things is what keeps you on track. Because if you cannot answer the question why, put some reasoning, rationale around it. It becomes more difficult when certain circumstances, certain conditions stop favoring your preferred way of living. And this actually happens a lot with people when following a certain diet until they build a very strong foundation in it. They lose the sense of priority in it because has its ups and downs. Our areas of life, different areas of life, they concurrent, not sometimes concurrently, sometimes sequentially, they take extra attention. They require extra attention. Sometimes we have crisis at work, sometimes we have crisis in like our personal life, and all of those things they need to be addressed. And this is when, if you do not have a solid foundation in your habits, in your routines, when you do not know why you're doing it, how to do it effectively, this is when it can fail and be forgotten. And depending on the seriousness of the impact those external circumstances had on you, you may not return. So, this is the thing. I was always learning and I was always reiterating the why question to myself until it became second nature. And then you just do it, and it is what it is, right? You don't think about it. Cooked vegan diet is an absolute disaster for me too. The old school McDougall approach many people are having issues with. Horrendous for my gut. I'm not familiar with this school of thought. I have my own experience that as common dish as it can only be on a vegan diet, rice and beans are migraine. So those things are just equal for me. And I think I mentioned somewhere like all those like vegan substitutes, like soy, uh, beans with ton of starch on the side. I can eat beans like with a salad, no problem. But beans with a starchy dish, it feels like somebody poured concrete with clay inside of your stomach, first of all. And then it just feels, even though there's like a ton of fiber, right? The property of this fiber, the abundance of those like starchy glues in it, just doesn't feel good. And then it's a migraine. So it's just a migraine. And like right now, it's like sauteed vegetables, all of that stuff, especially with oils, with cooked oils, roasted nuts. Oh, I can continue the list. It's just terrible. Soaking, sprouting, eating fresh is the best, for real. And I know that, what's her name? Brenda Davis. Brenda Davis has this famous lecture in which she talks about raw vegan diet and myths and stuff. And she talks about that enzymes do not play any role because they get released in some part of the stomach in which it doesn't make sense. Then this like cellular autolysis doesn't is not as relevant in the plant cell. But I cannot agree with that. Even if rationally it makes sense, I feel like even if they measured something and they identified that it doesn't play any role, I don't know why. I feel that it has an impact. Undisputable for me that it does work. Comment. I think these starchy glues are the reason for why people are having candida, SIBO. Yeah, I I would believe so if that was the concern. Because I remember one of the early streams I conducted, the person was complaining that they have candida on the vegan diet. Starch turns into sugar, cooked starch. So, and plus another thing, I don't know precise mechanism. I know that cooked thermally processed starches, they're actually harmful for the liver. I should read more about it, but I remember that my stepfather, a doctor, he was back in the day, he was always telling me to avoid cooked starches, especially warm when they're just freshly like heated up. He told me always that do not do this; it's super harmful. He never explained me why. And then later, I learned that it's a concern for the liver specifically. So this is something known that is not a mainstream knowledge. This is why I really want to study that influence because it's apparently something in the air. And I remember also there was some lady, you know those like cringe reels? Some person was she was like a vegan lady and she was instructing a new vegan on how to avoid feeling hungry. And she was like, just eat a bunch of starchy foods. Eat a bunch of potatoes, pasta, and white rice. And I'm like, no, please don't. It's like the worst thing to build your entire diet around. So yeah, I think the body allows candida to grow to allow the indigestible starches to be processed. My theory, anyway. You probably are familiar with the one scientist who was actually the father of microbiology, I think, or some who was studying basically pathological microorganisms and infections. And he said that if he was to live his life from the beginning, he would devote his entire career to proving that the body actually employs harmful microorganisms to cope with the intoxication and with certain substances, certain formations in our body that it cannot deal with on its own. So this was his statement. And it's actually kind of interesting to think about because, yeah, we know that parasites thrive when there is a lot of protein matter. Probably not just. Bacteria, fungus, they're just different level of microorganisms, but they also need food. So it's kind of clear to yeah, sounds like he stole my theory. Yep, he definitely did. Um, so yeah, that's what you feed thrives. It's like universal law. Then, if we look at, I want more people to join too, but it's kind of nice to have solo conversation, very coherent. So you asked me too, what's the biggest benefit of being raw has given you compared to old ways of eating? The funny thing was that my old ways of eating, I mentioned in one of the videos, were literally doctor's dream. So whenever I would go to the doctor's office and they would ask me what I eat, they would be like, "Wow, it's insane! It's amazing that you're doing this." So it was Mediterranean diet. Like for breakfast, I had, imagine, every Sunday I would make waffles with buckwheat flour, cocoa powder, flax seeds, chia seeds, and I didn't add any sweetener to it. Then I would make waffles. I would freeze them, and every morning I would reheat a couple, and I would eat them with maple syrup and with nut butter. So this was my breakfast every day. Very filling, like probably like 1,000 calories. So then for lunch, I would usually go on campus. I would either eat nothing, some like snack bar, either like Lara bars with dates, or some sugary things, sugary treats with coffee or tea, and or I would eat some like stir fry, so brown rice, some like pieces of chicken, some pieces of vegetables, fried with like some sauce. And for dinner, I would have either pasta, or I would have like fish fillet baked, or I would have chicken breast baked with potatoes. Um, Occasionally, I would put some sprinkle some salad on all this. So this was my typical diet. And eventually, I started dropping the gluten content, but I never did this until I actually switched to raw fully. Then I would also eat some red meat as well. I would eat lamb. I would eat different kinds of fish. And also eggs, of course. So I would eat eggs. I made shakshuka was my favorite when you make vegetable sauce and then put eggs on it. So this was my previous way of eating, except for refined sugar, which was a nice addition for it to not be orthorexic way of eating, I guess, as of modern psychophysiology around food. It was just an exemplar diet. And then I switched to raw with basically I added a bunch of salads. I replaced animal protein with plant sources, either with addition of some cooked legumes, then with hemp, with sesame seeds. I ate a ton of sesame seeds at some point. All sweets became dates and fresh fruits, bananas occasionally too. And then I also was making buckwheat granola made of raw buckwheat. And that made a difference, a huge difference. And I don't know what brought me healing of migraines specifically, what rid me of persistent like acne on the cheeks, what reduced my swelling, but I would blame even not like animal products, because the main evil animal product I think out there in terms of the dietary properties is dairy. It's not even meats, it's cheeses, it's milks, all those yogurts, and I was avoiding those for a while before I switched to raw diet. I think it was actually the boiled starches, boiled carbs, and addition of super potent greens into the diet. Removal of all the fried things, because fried roasted things also were inflaming me, give me migraines and acne. Even like the smell of something being roasted and fried gives me those sensations. So with the raw diet, there was a two-sided solution. So it was like, synergistic solution. On the one hand, you remove all the irritants, such as starches, boiled starches, such as all those cooked oils, everything roasted and fried, which we know are inflammatory. It's a scientific fact. It's a fact that is a very commonplace known fact. And then addition of super potent vitamin rich, hydration rich, actually diuretic plants. So that was, I think, the thing. And then also, I remember at one point I was taking magnesium supplements, and I don't need to do this anymore because my magnesium is sky high. Consumption, which is also reflected in the blood work. Then there also were concerns about getting enough zinc. Of course, I wasn't getting enough copper probably with my previous diet. All of those mineral deficiencies might have been creeping up. Then calcium as well. Where was I getting calcium? God knows. Like I have no clue where I was getting calcium back in the day. So all of those things combined, plus with iron, another thing, right? Doctors say that okay, pasta will have iron in it. Boiled legumes will provide you iron. But I was anemic while eating not only animal foods, but also all of those like probably fortified grains. And I was anemic, like specifically with concerns with iron. So that thing also got recovered on a raw diet, equivalent to taking a supplement. So that was kind of crazy. So I was basically why I'm talking about all this is because I devoted some time studying why I observed what I observed on a raw diet because I was really curious. It was a pretty systemic solution and pinpointing the key factors that actually improved health on a raw diet were super important for me to learn. And then, of course, there was healing of the gut in the way that you remove the foods that irritate the gut lining. You boost your fiber intake so much that your gut lining becomes finally functional and not so susceptible to disruptions should any stress factors come across. So actually did oil pull. I've been doing oil pulling recently, and it dries mouth so much afterwards. It's crazy. I don't know. Do you do oil pulling? Whoever joins questions in the chat, respond to the poll. Yeah, you should. Oil pulling is super cool if you are, for example, if you have some like beginning cavities, you could freeze them with oil pulling. And I don't know, like all those like overall improvements that people report on that they literally just like rejuvenate, become 20 years younger, and lose weight and become detoxified from just oil pulling. I don't know, it's up to you believe it or not, but there is like proven benefit that it murders bacteria that cause cavity. And what another thing, I was thinking how it works better than antiseptics, water based or alcohol based antiseptics. I thought that you know how you can put anything in the oil and it basically like extracts, pulls the compounds, certain compounds from whatever you put in the oil, just like water does or alcohol does. But oil does it, and plus it also coats the teeth even afterwards. So I feel like it's more efficient in actually being persistently present and murdering and preventing development of those bacteria that cause cavities because there are just a few bacteria that do that. There's this bacteria, I don't remember its name, that is being murdered by coconut oil. And then also, I think some lactobacillus can cause it too, some tooth decay or tooth disruption, destruction. I'm not sure. But yeah, the main blame is that. And if you have a partner who you're intimate with, you should do it together because you don't want to like reinfect each other basically with those bacteria. Another thing that I actually should do, I bought a ton of sesame seeds. I want to do my dental chocolate. I make it's unsweetened, so it doesn't have any sweetener in it. It's literally cocoa powder, sesame seeds, and coconut oil. And I make super thin wafers. I melt coconut oil and I try to make them as thin as possible. So, what this chocolate does, theobromine in cocoa powder, it acts similar to the fluoride. Hello, vegan knowledge. So theobromine in cocoa powder that's similar to the fluoride by pulling the minerals to the teeth. And coconut oil murders those bacteria, and sesame seeds they supply minerals and calcium included. Actually, I recently made seaweed salad and I put there like 90 grams of sesame seeds. I have a screenshot because I was shocked. I soaked them in water. It was pretty easy to eat. It contains 90 grams of sesame seeds, contain 68% calcium that you need to eat per day. It's insane. And it's fairly doable to eat that. And another thing is that calcium is, I mentioned too, something on my to do list is to do a research where RDVs came from. But for calcium, because I was like kind of surprised that you need so much calcium and it's kind of hard to get unless you do some concentrates, like unless you eat like a head of parmesan cheese. Uh, RDVs for calcium can be divided by two, typically, which actually in turn it's one of the most prevalent, one of the most common deficiencies in the world is calcium deficiency, which I also don't understand because I think it's confused with vitamin D deficiency. But maybe I'm wrong. I wonder where that knowledge about it, the deficiency being so common spread came from. Whether it came from, I don't know. Because it's hard to diagnose calcium deficiency. Your blood work doesn't tell that unless it's like super low, severely low. They might have assessed it through the osteoporosis incidence, which osteoporosis is more a vitamin D problem. So yeah, sesame seeds for the win. Another, by the way, source of calcium, if anyone is wondering, is poppy seeds. You can, being raw vegan, like literally, I make those super cakes. I mentioned it in the last stream, but I made this version with poppy seed. So I remembered one dessert from one Russian cafeteria. They made cherry pie with chocolate and poppy seed cream. It was insanely good. So I repeated that thing. You can eat so many poppy seeds right away in one setting without any effort. And they're also super rich in calcium. So if we now search, for example, like how much calcium is in poppy seeds, it's best, by the way, to soak them, especially if you work where you go through the drug tests, because poppy seeds can make you test positive for opioids. But if you soak them for like several hours at least, then you are not going to have this problem. So, excuse me, like 1 tablespoon of poppy seeds contains 10% daily calcium. You do 3 tablespoons, which is easy as a part of a dessert. You're 30% in, which is 60% if we multiply it by two, because again, RDVs may be divided by two. So poppy seeds, yeah, poppy seeds, sesame seeds, amazing sources of calcium. And they're so versatile in what you can do with them as well. Salads, desserts, they can handle anything. You can make tahini, like freshly ground sesame seeds. You can turn them in fresh tahini, put them on your salads, eat them with your crackers and all of that stuff. It's amazing. Plant Kingdom is just the best. And those foods are so traditional. Not many people are allergic or sensitive to those. So yeah. And poppy seeds, you can make raw vegan poppy seed cookie, lemon poppy seed cookies. You can mix them with cherries. Make cherry cream with them. You can make raw vegan crepes with like made of like coconut, or purchase them. They're actually I remember I was buying the coconut wraps. Of course, they will be not as nutritious because I mean they're dehydrated, oxidized, and so on. But you can make vanilla cream and wrap them in those coconut crepes. Mix them again with some berry sauce, with chocolate sauce. So many delicious things. I'm sorry, I'm hungry. I only had breakfast and I want to eat something tasty. So then. No questions in the chat? Sure, I will just go on with my own agenda then. I had received last night, I received a question about collagen powders. Collagen powders. And if you have any strong opinions on supplementing with collagen powders, collagen peptides, please drop in the chat while I'm discussing my point of view on that. Basically, before I went through, I was taking marine collagen. You probably saw it in any like health food store, in any supplement store. It's in light blue jar, plastic jar, marine collagen. I was taking it for 6 months and I didn't see any results. I don't know why I was taking it. I just thought that it was a cool idea to do it because I was past 25 years old, so my collagen production should have slowed down. And I was like thinking that it was really a great idea. But then it became kind of economically unsustainable because each jar costs like what, $40 probably, and it lasts you for a couple of weeks. I kind of stopped taking it after half a year because I just didn't understand why I was doing it. And I don't know much about the controversies about the collagen powder supplements. I always treated them similarly to protein powders because collagen peptides are probably just like smaller clumps of amino acids, right? Just some polypeptides essentially. So I was thinking approximately nothing about supplementing with collagen powders, and in the on the surface web search was showing literally that the side effects of collagen powders are some like bloating and some basically gastric disturbances, something that you usually find with protein powders. And knowing that collagen supplements, they literally simply dissociate into individual amino acids, to me, it kind of makes no sense to consume collagen powders unless you cannot fulfill your essential amino acid goals through the diet. Because I know that there are picky eaters, there are people who cannot eat much, so they can develop protein deficiency, especially if they like go on like a path of like ethical veganism. So not all they on the one hand they don't want to eat like animal products with all the complete amino acid profile. Neither they are willing to complete their amino acid profile through consumption of sufficient amount of plants, diverse plants with some potency, with a sufficient amount of protein. So that may be when consumption of collagen powders is reasonable. Because I checked them, some of them contain, along with collagen peptides, they contain hyaluronic acid and they contain vitamin C in the form of ascorbic acid, which is kind of sketchy. But overall, it's not all that we need for collagen synthesis. For collagen synthesis, we need vitamin C. We need to not have anemia. We need to have good oxygen supply. Not only we need to not have anemia, we also need to go outside and do some exercise to actually oxygenate our body well. Then it needs copper, it needs magnesium, it needs manganese. So, and also actually silica. If we do not supply all the components that participate in collagen synthesis, we're not going to synthesize it. So even if we supply enough amino acids, essential amino acids, but my stance is always to try to hit all necessary nutritional goals through food, because that way you get complete, comprehensive, well-rounded nutrition. Because every plant food will carry all of those essentials that you need for protein synthesis, for collagen building, for like hormonal function, all of those things. So because if you eat raw plants, you get vitamin C, you get this much of copper, this much of zinc, you get this much of manganese, and if you are following a good gut healing diet and you eat enough, you are also going to get enough iron and enough amino acids, essential amino acids. So, with that in mind, I don't know if collagen supplements are really necessary. But again, there are circumstances in which supplementation with those may be beneficial for some individuals. Because not everyone is willing to follow a strict diet. Not everyone is willing to eat everything that exists that helps with all to support all those essential processes, because any deficiency manifests after some time. Our body is an amazing machine that has an amazing reserve to cope with some initial stages of any deficiency. We have many unnecessary functions that the body pulls its resources from first. But yeah. And if we think about the okay, and I guess because the raw foods are easy to digest, the nutrition is not only extracted better, but the body can heal itself naturally from having lighter foods than burdening the healing system. Yeah, yeah. So it's literally like the efficiency of raw foods. Yeah, it's higher because you don't need so many enzymes. You don't need to you don't need to form proteins, enzyme proteins, which enzymes are proteins consisting of amino acids. You don't need so much of them to break down foods because your foods are easy to digest. They come in easier complexes. They have their own enzymes. Again, not proven if it works or not that way. But absolutely, yeah. And again, looking at my dog, I also notice how important it is, how important it was for him to switch to raw meat eating because with that, I see how much easier it is for him to digest it. And I remember that cooked meats would cause him to have, I think, pancreas problems, gut problems. It was nuts. So I have another like entity, I have another animal who can support the idea of specifically raw nutrition, whether it's plant nutrition or it's animal based nutrition. So to me, it's almost like it's proven through observation and through again through some scientific causes that we can find and also support that. And yeah, so if we are not wasting amino acids to break down complex proteins, yeah, it becomes more efficient to digest like simpler proteins, right? Effectively. And yeah, also judging by the energy efficiency too, because um, it's energy preserving diet, preserving and energy giving. So again, your output of energy per food, per like calorie of food that you're consuming on a raw diet is much higher. I never had an impulse to go nap after a raw meal. It never puts me to sleep. 30 minutes ready to work out if you ate a lot. If you didn't eat a lot, like right now I can go work out. So body doesn't shut off its functions other than digestion. If you eat some stew, good quantity, right? Nutritionally relevant quantity of some vegetable, legume, rice, meat, whatever, stew. If you eat a lot of it, you just want to sleep. It's not normal. It's food that robs you of energy, apparently. Experimentally. Just from experience, anecdotal evidence. But many people, I think, will co-sign under this. So, and then another thing that I want to study, by the way, the influence of fruit sugars on collagen. Because I tested the hemoglobin cross-linking. And that one was fine for me. It wasn't a problem. And I wonder if this data can directly translate into the assumptions about how much collagen is being cross-linked by sugars, by whatever. So, if so, then raw vegan diet with inclusion of at least moderate amount of fruits is really great for preservation of collagen. I don't know if it works for strict fruitarians, for fruitarians who eat a lot of sugary fruits. I have no idea. That's why I want to study that subject. Whether the skin decline happens quicker, skin and also like all cartilaginous tissues, which have joints, blood vessels, even all connective tissue basically, can suffer from collagen deficiency. Then another person commented about under my anemia video about the iron supplements. They were on iron supplements, and I replied to them that iron supplements would be the last resort. I actually had some person who was shitstorming in my comments about that I'm promoting iron supplements. No, I don't. It's false. It's absolutely false. Iron supplement, there you can do so much before you need to opt for iron supplements, literally. All foods contain iron. All foods. And there's a huge handful of foods that can contain a lot of it. There is a guy who did a 300-day juice fast. He's got an amazing glow only on fruit. Um, fruit juice fast, yo. What's his name, if you remember? My stance on that is that only sweet fruit fast would apply only to people who healed their liver completely. Because if a person who was abusing alcohol, who was doing substances, goes on a Jillian Berry's channel. Okay, let's see. Um, Jillian Berry videos. Because liver is responsible for fructose. And if liver is wrecked, then it's not gonna be a good idea to do that. By the way, whoever did juice fasts, how do you come out of those? Because I know that some people struggle to not be on juice, to start eating like solid foods again. Have you seen the Breatharian Genius Sunfire? No, I'm not gonna do this because it's to me breatharianism is a fallacy, because this is people who digest their skeleton, who literally pull minerals from their bones, right? So there are some disposable minerals in the body, and I don't believe in breatharianism, and there are certain processes that make it unreasonable. I need to recall the logical chain that I built for that. But to me, it's not something that I should aspire doing. There's literally no animal. So plants are autotrophs, right? So there are biological species that practice autotrophy that do not need to consume anything. No, there are even like bacteria who are autotrophs. Plants pull minerals from the soil, convert them into energy, convert them into some metabolites such as oxygen, and then we belong to the mammals. And mammals are not autotrophs. They consume organic matter. And there are predators who consume organic matter in the form of other animals. There are plant eating species who consume plants. And there are no mammals who would who would live without eating foods, eating organic matter. I hear this surprisingly frequently, that people synthesize minerals. People don't. The only process of sweating already negates this idea, because sweat contains electrolytes. The only way a mammal can get minerals without consuming organic matter is by dissolving their skeleton. And this happens in the circumstances of severe food deprivation. This does happen. Our skeleton always absorb, like, resorbs, desorbs, resorbs, desorbs. Our bones are a dynamic system. In the circumstance of any metabolic issues and the circumstances of malnourishment, bones desorb more than they reabsorb because minerals are used for functioning of the heart, for functioning of the for transmission of electrical signals in the body. So I am very skeptical about it. Very skeptical. You can get energy from air. You cannot get minerals from anywhere but food. This is impossible. Minerals formed during the formation of Earth, of planet Earth. There are no new minerals. They are getting recycled through the living species. Yes, you can get some through consuming water, but it's not all minerals unless you live somewhere in the mountains. Maybe you can get minerals through bathing in the sea, in the ocean. You can absorb some through skin. But you cannot get them as an enclosed system without any supply. I know there is a Russian guy who says that digestive system of a human is a rudiment. It's something that should be not used, something that should be eradicated. He has immense following, mostly of teenagers, which is interesting. So another thing is that fruits are also different because if you live in the tropics where you have fruits right here, versus you live somewhere else where fruits come, where they pick fruits when they're unripe, when they don't have enough vitamins, they're only like basically sugary water for the most part. Then it's not a sustainable path either. So there are some limitations on being fruit only. And then another thing is, of course, yeah, there are some considerations, right? So some people claim that they thrive off of very minimal food. We can say that some blue zoners are, they eat just like three items throughout their life and nothing else, and they also thrive and they live long lives. Um, in those communities, they probably have microbiome that was not touched by the society, by the civilization, by the factors, by the environmental factors that we are currently burdened by. So that's another thing. 300-day juice fast, it's almost a year. I'm curious if a woman did that, what would happen? Because women are actually, women are such a valuable study subject because, and unfortunately, science, like my inner feminist, always rebels against it because woman body is so poorly studied. But women, every month, you can track how things are going with her. Whether she ovulates, whether her skin glows, where she can remain healthy and beautiful, whether she can be prolific. So with women, it would be really interesting to see a long-term juice fast. Another thing that happens is the beginning conditions. Because we can take a person who is burdened by the toxins and then put them on the fast, on super extreme fast. And on this fast, they will glow up because they will reduce the toxic load. But if we take a person with already some present nutritional deficiencies and put them on the fast, yes, some of them may get treated. Some of them may exacerbate. And so this is an interesting thing. I wonder where this video is with 300. Was it recent or no? I see 60-day juice fast and they all change their lives. What do they all change? I wonder. I'll check for it later. So yeah, I don't believe in fruitarianism. I don't believe in pure fruitarianism. Maybe I'm narrow-minded. Maybe I'm like Ellen Martyr Free Melon. Maybe I didn't study enough, but I know that I can develop nutritional deficiencies. I have proof of that. And of course, one thing is that okay, it's nutritional deficiency as of medical system, but I feel it. I can see it when I do certain things. So it's still like mind-boggling to me because if we take fruits and we compute their nutritional profile, it's fairly low. I so to me it's really you need to have source of like salt water in my opinion, because otherwise how do you get all of those essentials? You need to have sunshine, you need to live in the ecosystem. I don't know. And another thing that bothers me is that I don't know how people eat fruit, because in summer when there's a lot of seasonal fruits, I have gum recessions from braces from way back when. So my dental sensitivity increases so drastically on the fruit. I cannot comprehend how it's being done. And I know that I receive a lot of messages from people. I tried eating raw diet. I ate mostly fruits because this and this blogger was eating fruits. And they all complain that their teeth are falling apart. They have super erosion, they have super sensitivity. So this is one thing that bugs me in this philosophy too, because I tried and it doesn't work for me at all, just because I start feeling discomfort with my teeth. So if you have experience with with strict fruitarianism, please share how you do it, because I notice it too. Discoloration. I know that there will be some people who claim that their teeth became much better on fruit. Maybe the fruit must be like picked in the peak ripeness. Maybe that's when there's low acid. But I cannot comprehend how people do it consistently. Because without greens, my teeth sensitivity does increase. So I don't know. And this is again, if I wasn't receiving so many comments under my videos about teeth, about the dental situation on a raw diet, I wouldn't be mentioning it with so much assertiveness. But this is definitely what bothers people a lot. And then, like such minerals as like calcium, phosphorus, which fruits are people getting it from? If we only talk about sweet fruits, and most fruitarians, they do eat sweet fruit exclusively. I don't know. Parsley, I mean, it's not fruit. Parsley is not fruit. Parsley is herb. And it's not a fruitarianism. People claim that they eat only fruit. I know that parsley, bok choy, I know that kale, I know that dandelions, they contain all that. I know that greens do, but fruits don't. And especially modern fruits from the supermarket. So I have skepticism about it. Then we cannot call it fruitarianism. Another thing is that some people call themselves fruitarianisms, but fruitarians, but then they present to the audience that yes, I eat salads every day. Okay, Elon's approach was high amounts of juice fasting cleansing. He says that the body is then able to maximize and utilize the fruit. I'm never going fruitarian because I love salad, but he's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to study for sure. Like you can hear me being like emotionally aggravated, but I'm aggravated as a researcher. When I was doing my PhD, I was actually with my advisor. We were like just like talking in super elevated terms. So because we were discussing something interesting, right? So you get emotionally involved in it. Um, Utilize the fruit. Of course, body will be pulling everything from what it can when it's when it's not presented with the surplus. His YouTube channel is the Free Melon Society goes into depth in this approach. Yeah, sure. I want to see some like written materials because I remember also there is a Russian raw vegan guy. He's biochemist, and he actually he talks a lot about the importance of greens and different properties of like different like nutraceutical properties of different plants. And I remember he made a section in which he interviewed fruitarians. There was a fruitarian athlete, super jacked guy, who was eating apples for several years, only apples, like only fruits, whatever fruits it was. He went through the full medical exam. He had like insanely low testosterone. His bone mass was assessed to be of 87-year-old man. So he had hormonal issues. He had bone issues, which was not surprising because again he was doing it in Russia. It was Russian, so vitamin D probably was like deficiency was there. Then his blood panel was also indicating, along with the actual measurement of B12, was indicating anemia. He felt incredibly good, he swear. But again, when he saw the results that his bones were actually deteriorated to the max, that was scary for him. That his testosterone was nowhere, that was scary. Then another lady he also interviewed, she was eating only avocados and cucumbers. She had no B12, so she was anemic as well. And she didn't do the blood, she didn't do the bone density measurements, but there were problems that existed. So either they were not fitting into the normal paradigm of the essential nutrition, or they were borderline approaching some disaster. So because also people don't come up with questions when everything is good. People don't start analyzing it. Don't start bringing it out to the medical personnel per se. The curiosity is usually sparked by something that unconsciously bothers you. Because when everything is fine, when you don't worry about your anything, you don't think about it. You don't think about going and testing it. But they went and tested it, and it was disaster that was not perceived. His approach is similar to referring how animals only eat one source of nutrition, etc. Like how zebra only eats grass and so on. He's super minimal, but he's extremely fit. So zebra has. We're not herbivorous. We're fruitarians, and fruits there are plenty. And I agree that in the circumstances in which we can build a microbiome that is inherent to our ancestors, when we don't live in a hygienic world, it may work. But another thing is that grass, greens, they do contain loads of minerals. They do contain lots of dirt. We are apes, and we eat variety of fruit because fruits they naturally have seasonal thing. So if we think about Mediterranean region, when I visited even, uh, there's always some fruit going on. So it always changes. The fruits are changing constantly because unlike grass, fruits, they are, as with any species, there is a reproductive season. So with plants, reproduction happens through the fruit. So it's a seasonal thing because it's energy bearing process to generate the fruit. So for frugivorous animals, it's normal to eat a variety of different sources. This is why we are supposed to be eating variety depending on the season. And we're not like herbivorous animals because grass grows all the time. Even in winter, you can dig it from underneath the snow, and there will be some grass. Do you eat blueberries? Yeah, I do. I do. I like them. Yeah, I eat blueberries. I like wild blueberries if they're. I last year I was doing a lot of wild blueberries frozen. Not this year though. I kind of like calmed down on them. But I loved making frozen wild blueberries, banana, and coconut yogurt. That's what it was. But yeah, in the modern environment, take a modern person, put them on the mono diet. It's not gonna work. Modern person, at least once in their life, ate antibiotics. Modern person uses dishwashing solution. Modern person uh, washes hands, interacts with the uh, techno system rather than with ecosystem. So we have so much anthropogenic factor around us. Plus, another thing is electromagnetic fields as well. They also influence how our body works. Uh, we have so many stressors. We have non-optimized even sleep schedule. Who said that we need to wake up to go to work at 9 a.m.? Who said that it's an optimal thing? Who said that we need to live with car exhaust and move as much as modern person moves? It's not sustainable. So an average person cannot thrive on that. It will take a ton of years to rebuild microbiome and maintain it in the natural environment. Another thing is that usually in the normal cycle of life, imagine woman is birthing her child. Child is going through her vagina, gets all the bacteria from there. Then woman also defecates a little bit during the birth. So child gets a little bit of that inseminated in their nasal and gastric ways. And this is the if the mother is healthy, if the mother carries those bacteria, this is the only moment, the unique moment in which a child can get it. So this is supposed to be there from birth. If it's murdered, then some functions, some bacterial functions already won't be there. So that's the thing. And in the modern world, again, the children are administered with a bunch of pharma right away. Most children who are born in the hospitals, they're given antibiotics right away. So there's no this initial insemination of their body with the bacteria that are capable of some synthesis of certain important elements. Then sleeping on the floor is a very smart practice. Yeah, I enjoy that too. Floor sleeping, yeah, would be super cool because I personally cannot relax on anything that's spongy. I actually wanted to show. This is a buckwheat pillow with thorns. This is what I sleep on. Buckwheat hulls are amazing because they don't plunge, so your neck doesn't feel like it needs to flex all the time. And if I wanted to make a buckwheat mattress too, but buckwheat hulls are super costly. I wanted to make that. I want to make basically coconut. What's it called? Those like hairs, coconut coir or coir, and then put buckwheat hulls on top and make such mattress such that it has a little bit of like cushioning on it. But this is I sleep on. I like to put it on my face as well. Floor massage. Very painful at first, but then super cool. Is there snow in your town? Yes, there is. It's actually super cold today. The wind's very windy. It's minus 12 Celsius today. So it's kind of brutal. And my dog also freezes so quickly on the walks. I have to carry him back home. So most people who joined today are raw vegans for less than 1 year. Where am I? I'm in Albany, New York. in the capital of the state. So why it's important, basically, to explore your options with raw veganism. I hear you that yes, Albin. I hear you that you are very like into fruitarianism, and it's not surprising that, because drinking juice is much easier than chewing food. Drinking sweet juice is much easier than drinking bitter juice or eating bitter greens. It's much easier than that. But our jaws are meant to chew, and we're not meant to eat such an overload of sweets, because fruits were not sweet in the past, typically, unless we talk about tropics. In tropics, yes, there will be those indigenous fruits that still grow there, but most fruits, they were more starchy than sweet. And with selective breeding, people kind of grew certain species that became sweeter. And I understand that it's so tempting to ditch all the everything that's kind of hard and go with the super easy path, and hope that it will work. But again, if I wasn't receiving so many messages from people that it kind of doesn't work, and myself like not doing research about it, I would probably agree with that. But I also, by the way, I also conducted last year an experiment. I started eating some tremendous amount of fruits. There was one fruitarian who actually bashed the whole raw veganism eventually, because she was eating like 40 bananas, 50 dates per day, something crazy. And she wanted to prove to people that fruit sugars are fine. Something happened to her, and she kind of got disappointed in the whole raw vegan practice, which um, raw veganism is so broad. It's such a broad term. And if you do like 40 bananas, 50 dates per day, I mean, it is raw vegan, but it's not representative, rather. And I tried kind of like incorporating more sweet fruits. I immediately got, you know what? I got spots on my nails. And that's linked to sugar. And sugar pulls zinc. So you can get zinc deficiency through that. Then there is a really interesting guy called George Benzi on YouTube. I think you'll find his juice fasting experiences really interesting as to what came out of him, releasing stones, mucoid plaque, etc. I think most of the fruit juice fasting approach is short term, but maybe for 3 or 6 months maximum to release mucoid plaque, gallbladder stones, liver stones, etc. It can work miracles for that, definitely. I actually read that for to release mucoid plaque, they do some fasting, and then a ton of fiber and laxatives. I know that this is the method, or bentonite, that creates a three-dimensional, basically, mold of your inside of your gut. Gallbladder stones. It's interesting that he released it from fruit juice fasting, because also, Aris Latham, he is a person who hasn't eaten cooked food for about 45 years. I released an unreal amount of it through juicing, but it takes a while to come out. I can't like cannot support or disprove this experience, because I myself, I've been like on high fiber diets for probably a decade. So, and then on the raw diet, I've been like for 3 years, and I never had experiences with anything like that per se. And I experienced gut healing. So I don't know to what how relevant it is to for me to strive to release mucoid plaque because I don't think that I have it. Because mucus lining on the gut, it replaces relatively rapidly. Unless, again, you ate something like crazy for years. And so it replaces within a span of like 2 months max, fully renews because your gut lining is constantly shedding. And as you rebuild microbiome, bacteria is what produces this mucus to live in. So you replace your gut microbiome, you replace your mucus lining. The mucoid won't come on a raw veganism eating salad, it only comes out through juice fasting. But I actually know, it's interesting because you're saying that. I read exactly the opposite notion that it requires a lot of fiber. So I don't know. There are like literally some naturopaths who prescribe psyllium husks and bentonite in order to get it out. So what you're saying, it has the opposite approach as well. Because I wanted to find some information on mucoid plaque because it's considered a scientific fallacy, its existence. Which salad do you recommend? I don't recommend romaine or iceberg because they're toilet paper. They're nutritionally irrelevant. You need to eat wild greens as much as possible. If we had access to those, I had it in Europe. Nettles would be amazing. Dandelions, arugula, white arugula, wild asparagus, all of those greens. Kale, bok choy, parsley, of course, a ton of that. So everything that is bitter and coarse, this is what I eat. It's 100% true. I promise I got photos. No, I mean, we can skip photos probably, but that's a curious thing. So yeah, I cannot really like maintain the conversation on the subject because I've never practiced that. I only saw that yeah, with certain practices something comes out. What the mechanism is, I don't know. But again, you're saying that it won't come out on raw veganism eating salad, but it does come out as of some naturopaths who make money out of it. Do you wear cashmere? I do. Yeah, I have. I'm not vegan, like in terms of my lifestyle. So I only vegan. I'm only vegan dietarily. So I murder one cow or one sheep a week for my dog. This already makes me non-vegan. So I think that pet ownership is not is kind of negates the idea of veganism because you either hurt your animal or you hurt other animals for your animal. Then I murder one cow probably every several years for a pair of shoes. Then I torture some sheep to give me some wool occasionally. And yeah, sometimes I also torture and exploit bees to make me some honey or bee pollen. Rarely, though, I'm not a fan of honey. And then I also exploit silkworms to make me underwear. So this is my this is how what makes me non-vegan because I don't I'm against synthetics. I work a lot with fabrics. I work with sewing, and I'm I studied a lot of um, problems with fast fashion and also with the vegan substitutes of certain fabrics and materials. And I can say that polyurethane is a super bad material, as well as nylon, as well as polyester, as well as all like spandex, all those fibers, because they turn into microplastics and their durability is very low. Okay, certain like athleisure, yeah, made of spandex and nylon, it will serve for longer, but uh, different like leather substitutes, even like there is some like greenwashing now in terms of vegan leather that is made of some fruit fibers This is a terrible thing too because literally they interlace those fruit fibers. 2/3 of that will be polyurethane. So they put this like it's made of apples, but it's not made of apples. It's the same synthetic, it's same plastic. I wear cashmere only and looking for Japanese cotton. Yeah, uh, cotton is yeah an amazing material. So when living in the warm climate, I think cotton shoes, cotton bags are an amazing substitute, of course, for leather goods. But my like ethical salvation, so to speak, comes in coming with leather is that what like 98% of world population eats meat, and unless the skin of those animals turns into leather, they're just thrown away into landfill. So, and people are not going to quit eating meat. So it's interesting. You make me wonder if I should try juice fasting, but at the same time, I am again, as a woman, I am so attached to my hormonal system that the idea of fasting terrifies me because I'm very sensitive to any changes in my like nutrition. So to me, it's a really scary practice to look forward to because I know like what diet I am on. I know that I'm getting everything I need for this and this and this, and I'm super skeptical about this practice for me specifically. And I know that lots of women did this. I know there is an idea that women should not like have menstrual cycle altogether. There's all of that, but I don't want to do this until I birth my child. I don't want to mess with that, with all those extended fasting, because I know that it can even like intermittent fasting can wreck female hormones. And everybody you listed were men. And men can handle much more. Like put a woman, for example, make a woman drink alcohol every day and make a man drink alcohol every day. A woman will turn into like freaking like old shoe from that. Because literally all beauty, all everything of a woman is regulated by this beautiful balance of her sexual hormones. And for men, there's much stronger resilience to certain stressors. Because in women, estrogen forms from testosterone. And so testosterone can form either into cortisol or into estrogen. That's why stress is so hard, so bad for women. And with the diet as well, female reproductive system can shut off from those stressors. And again, I weighed my risks and I'm not ready to like juice fast, for example. When I rid myself of fat, when I rid myself of lots of minerals, I don't know. Blue ink is a no cause. It's is a no. No cause it's unhealthy. Blue ink you mean on clothes, okay. I actually remember that I went to vacation in Dominican and I got like just haunted by this couple. They birthed like a million of children and the woman was like, I was going to be an artist. I really enjoyed painting, but I sacrificed everything for my kids. And so she was like talking about how she sacrificed everything for her kids, like all day long. And they would just find me on the beach and keep drilling my brain about how she wanted to be an artist, how she had to sacrifice it all. And she was like, I had to sacrifice my career. Had to sacrifice my painting because white paint was causing some like problems in kids. So this is how I learned that there are some actually paints like that you would never think about. They have some effect on the reproductive system. Because working in the lab, I knew that, for example, solvents, right? Solvents, certain acids, certain mixtures, they will have the effects on whatever, on hormonal system, on the brain, because we had to study all that. Like literally, all chemistry in the lab was labeled accordingly to what it was, what health risks and what hazards it had. So with that, yeah, I learned that there are certain like inks that are kind of harmful. But you know what? It's like when people literally wear something with synthetic fibers and which shed microplastics that are endocrine disruptors, actual particles that can be absorbed through the mucus linings, that can be absorbed through all different like volatile compounds. And then we talk about ink. I mean, I feel like there is so much going on with modern clothing that those things, they seem like being like details, nuances, because there is a handful, especially clothes that people sweat in. When the pores open, when it's hot, when your absorbability is high. Amazing. Cotton is, of course, one of the best fibers, both to work with, its versatility, the amount of different treatments it can undergo for different properties, different weaves, variability. It's my favorite fabric to work with. Cotton is for the win. Second is probably wool, because wool can be also really malleable. It has so many properties. And I don't like to work or wear linen because linen is, I mean, it just looks messy. And it's very costly. But yeah, the cotton is the best, in my opinion. Then, I also wonder, by the way, how much juice fasting costs. Because right now, my grocery bill is almost like maximum that I could afford. And when you throw away a bunch of your food because you don't get like you never get full on juice fast, right? So of course it will eliminate the nuts and seeds and stuff. It will be just greens and fruits because I wouldn't do this thing. I wouldn't go on fruit fast. No, no way. But you need so much of that. I do it on 10 pounds a day in the UK. 10 pounds a day, pounds to dollars, what? USD. 127. So 10 pounds to USD will be 12. So it will be 13 United States dollars plus sales tax. 12 per day, so per person 12 by week. It's pretty cheap. Do you buy organic or no? Because in the States I wouldn't dare buying non-organic. We have I don't know if in the UK they have the same shady regulations on food quality. Organic cotton only? Not organic only. No, I do buy something with pesticides. George Benz is definitely one to follow. See the amount of mucoid that came out of him. He documented it all. I'm not going to watch mucoid. Like I don't like the content where people like show pus, zits, like all that shit. I would work in the pus department of some clinic if I was into that stuff. I remember once I was picking on my zit, and my doctor, my stepfather, who was a surgeon, he was like, stop it, or he said, I will just bring you to the pus division. He's like, it's just impossible. Non-organic, 10 pounds a day is the cheapest can be done. No, I'm not going to do non-organic in the US. No, in the US it's kind of it's kind of bad idea, to be honest, because we already like organic produce. is all covered in wax that is impossible to wash away with almost anything, with sprays, with alcohol, with like baking soda. So it's all coated in something. And then when we think about greens, I prefer to buy organic, even though I still soak them in the baking soda solution to further clean them. But I remember back when I just came to the States, I remember I purchased some produce and I forgot about some zucchini or something. I bought it in Walmart, non-organic. And my zucchini spent in the at some point it became an experiment. It spent 2 months in the fridge without any visual deformations. Like literally, usually produce decays. And I just I was blown away. You know, I went to the art school and we had those papier mâché or plastic things that were emulating the fruits and vegetables for still lives. And I remember I had the same impression from American non-organic produce. That is just the same. It just never spoils. It never decays. It's some like eternal burger, you know. So if I factor in the organic factor, then probably will be 50% more. So it will put us. I mean, still will be at $18 a day. So for two people, it will be $36 a day. So it will be weekly. It will be 300. It will be so 36 by 7, 21 and 42. So $300. Juicing is very. You are all guys. You're saying that juicing is very good. 2 to 3 times a day. Stay calm and enjoy the 80-10-10 diet. Stop. Okay, you say 80-10-10. So juicing, you're adding it to a protocol, or are you actually just juicing? And another thing is stay calm. I remember I brought myself to the food deprivation once. I had panic attacks and I wasn't eating much. I became psycho. I developed super painful periods. My hair started falling out, so I didn't like the experience, so to speak. So to me, being hungry, to deprive myself of food, I don't want to, first of all, I don't want to develop like eating disorder because I can have a tendency to do so. And start like feeling scared of food or putting too much like attention to food, not eating, like being like focused all the time on that. So to me, this is again, I'm in denial, as you can say, as you can see. Yeah, I would be curious too. You're saying that you're not pushing it, you're advising, you're just using it to prove the existence of mucoid plaque. I want to read on that, what it comes from, because it would be. Um, I'm just trying to understand what makes the gut to expel something from the juices without any solid food and what it is. Because what I can think, I don't know, I just can't understand how a healthy gut can can coexist with the presence of unhealthy mucus lining that should be expelled. To me, this is a puzzle. I want to go in Google Scholar and see any like works on that. Mucoid plaque is just an old material, meat, rice, anything you can imagine that's cooked and condenses to hard material in the gut. This is fecal stones. Hard material in the gut is fecal stones that we usually, yeah, that we usually observe in the elderlies who. Uh, but then, like, I can't understand why, if it's trapped. Imagine your gut, how it works, right? It propels the food through it, and uh, there are those like little lashes that propel the food further and absorb things, right? So if fiber, we know that fiber helps to ensure this movement. It ensures the good gut line. I can't understand how those things can be trapped. How can they be like? I mean, I guess I can but again, it's like why juice would do it? Like out of all things, to me, it's counterintuitive. This is why I'm trying to logically understand it. Juicing is for the meaning. It's always acceptable. It doesn't mean to juice only. Um, it's like rubber. I mean, you're telling it to the person who just plunged their sink. I know that like there's like this whatever gunk's formed because it frees up the space for the bowel to eliminate it. Juices flush it out. Um, okay, what I can think of is that juices they contain a lot of enzymes, right? So they will contain lots of like protein breaking enzymes, for example. So that I can understand. For example, if I do like pineapple, right? I did like pineapple fast last year for a week. And I mean, that I felt very slim. I just wanted to eat uh, pineapple only. So my theory is that if you eat only like pineapple and papaya, those are both protein breaking fruits. They contain actual proteins. They contain the enzymes and proteins that break down proteins. To me, this must be a sufficient practice for that. For removal of whatever waste there is. And you may not see it because you eat a ton of fiber. But in my comprehension, again, fiber stimulates this movement and stimulates the expulsion of things. At the same time, I know that there was some girl, she was saying that juices, they're not rid of fiber. They still have some. Okay, they're not transparent usually. Yeah, they do have fiber, some small amounts. But then I don't put in my gut things that are in the sink, right? So and then another thing, like on the discussion, do you need to do just juice fasting? Or do you need to do like juice plus something? To give you an idea, some people fast for 3 months and only juice, and only then it comes out. That shows how stuck this material is. It's a rubbery rope entangled within the gut. Usually, it's shaped like a gut, so it's stuck to the wall, so it comes as a mold of the gut. So the fact that you're seeing it as a rope, it literally has to pass through your rectum, right? So, but then on the other hand, I know a person who went through the mucoid plaque cleanse, and has super bad situation with irritable bowel now. So this is also an interesting observation to me, because again, there are different methods. Again, some methods literally include a ton of fiber and laxative. So you go through this rough method of scraping with increased contractions. Must be very unpleasant process. Another thing, why can't it come out naturally after some time on high, raw, high enzyme, high fiber diet? Granted that we know how the gut works. I only speak about this because legitimately an insane amount of it came out of me and after a month of juice fast. Actually, how do people use bathroom when they're juice fasting? Like, I understand that when there's no solid food. Or do they not? Unless something like this happens. I don't know. I'm not like really ready for this conversation, but I'm just curious. Um, Another thing, by the way, another thing I'm curious is what was I curious about? By the way, did you start juice fasting because you wanted to? Did you feel like you needed to do this, or did you just do it for through rationale? Like, what was your push to do it? Some people still releasing normal poops after 6 months on juice. So, what was your calling for it? Rationale releasing the old waste trapped in the gut so I can maximize the gut's absorption of raw foods without the gut impeded. Okay. Because I remember my experience when I was really like into the idea of going on this pineapple fast. I really felt urge to fast. I was like, I gotta do this. And my brain picked the specific fruit and I was just going with it. I didn't want anything else. I remember at that moment I literally I made a dress that was so thin, so tailored. I was like, yo, this is my pineapple fast shape. I know a 10-year-old vegan, she thought she had a clean gut. She did a 3 month juice fast and you won't believe what came out of her. I'll show you her channel in the comments. Sure. But then like is it normal to have what came out or not? Right? So I mean it's fun thing, but we have so much in our body that is worth our curious examination. Oh no, keep commenting, keep commenting. It's an interesting. I mean, you see, it's a trigger topic for me. So gradually, you are kind of like seeding the idea into my mind. But then, like some people, yeah, they go in 3 months. So 3 months juice fast. The only juices. I just again, maybe I don't know. Like I'm legitimately scared of it because I know how my body responds to any of those perturbations. The body holds waste and a real amount of needs space, time, juice to release it. And somehow, the body doesn't hold waste when there's like some pathogen, right? Body immediately removes it. That's what also bugs me. That body literally releases the intoxicating factors immediately when they come up. So it must be a very unhealthy body to trap that when it doesn't have capacity to remove it. Please, can you try jackfruit in the near future and share some of your experiences? By the way, you won't find any information on this from academic avenues, only from the experiences. This is why, I mean, well, yes, that's when you read the medical journals, they talk about this, that it's a non, like, kind of, I mean, yeah, there's like anecdotal evidence, but what this bothers me so much. I know people who went through hydrocolon therapy when they literally got their gut flushed with like, continuous stream. When they lay on the bed with a hole and they get water through their bowels, and it expels immediately. So it's a several hours long procedure sometimes. And I know that they lost like 10 pounds from this procedure alone. 10 pounds of bacterial lining, because yeah, there is a ton of mucus. It's normal to have mucus in the gut. It's normal to have two layers of mucus in the gut, because this first is protective, second is where bacteria lives. Then so this is what's known, and this is what gets expelled with hydrocolon therapy, with some advanced colonics that go all the way, flush everything. On the jackfruit note, I tried, I think when I was back in the day, I tried it as a some like raw vegan, well, not raw vegan, vegan meat substitute. Um, didn't try it raw though. I probably wouldn't trust it in New York though, because any tropical fruit you get in New York, you either need to wait for them to ripen on the countertop, or eat them when they taste like potatoes. Some like sour, acidic potato that you have to like bite through, even though it's intended to be a super soft fruit. And then you see another thing, like on this mucoid plaque thing, there's so much stuff from like people who are into super like spiritual practices. And so it becomes this super existential moment, super existential experience. And this is why I'm super lacking the foundation. Because what is coming out? If I had like equipment, if I had tools, I would be really interested to invest in studying that. What is the composition of that? Because I cannot find what, like, my inner researcher is like rebelling, because I cannot believe that this thing is not studied. And I want to know what it is. People say that it's like meat, rice, whatever. I can absolutely normally poop out meat and rice. It doesn't lead to any like not rice, but meat, for example. One of the best feelings I had health wise were when I was in Prague, when I was probably like what, 20 years old. Morning, bacon, eggs, then walking all day, and then for dinner you have some like meat dish and some fermented foods they served on the side. So this was the diet. And it was nothing was stock, because there was some like vegetables, there was a lot of meat. So this is, I really want to know what is that substance, because nobody has characterized it. What is this mucoid plaque? And the articles that I'm seeing is that from people who take some like bentonite, for example, uh, I don't even think hydrotherapy can release all of it. Imagine you have pockets with the gut where the gut has been stretched from the cooked foods that build up and trap the plaque. I don't know. If something like, there is gut obstruction, there is a condition when the gut is obstructed. And that is a problem. Big medical problem that requires surgical intervention. And then another thing, that those things, they're broken down by the bacteria, if anything. Because body won't let some like pieces floating around. So bacteria will eat it and will produce, okay, mucus, as you're saying. So this is what it can be, right? So if something somehow gets stuck, if you have like super bad gut, which is inflamed, which cannot like with super degraded gut lining, when you cannot propel food, when you're not eating fiber, okay, in that circumstance, you can like, what is that crap though? It must be several conditions that lead to that, because first of all, when we consume anything, what enters the gut is fiber and undigested, right? Undigested enters fiber. And if a person has very bad um, glands that secrete enzymes to break down proteins and fats, then those can enter the gut. So, with that being a problem, then plus inflamed gut, and then would deal with bacteria eating it and producing mucus, but all bacteria produces mucus. All of it. It just propels the inflammation. But then the gut lining is being shed. So it renews. It's like mouth, it's like vagina. It renews. Or there is an acute inflammation if it doesn't. And then this acute inflammation is like is a colitis. If there is a site of bacterial infection in the gut, it's a colitis problem. And people with that condition, they suffer. Because I know people who had that condition. It leads to fevers. Body addresses that thing. Just like any inflammation. Like if you'd put some, like, I don't know, some piece of food up your gum, right? You know what will happen? There will be pain. There will be inflammation. Eventually, body will contain it. Just like that, it will form the circle in which won't allow the bacteria to propagate further. Body likes to contain those things. Or it will lead to a super overwhelming condition all over when the body's local immunity cannot contain it. So my all this like passionate discourse is literally about the necessity, whether it's necessary to do. Because how often do you need to repeat this practice too? Like if you go on if you after this practice, how many years it will take you to develop it again, even on healthy diet? Is it physiological or not? That's another question. Only once it won't develop with raw foods. How do you know? There's so much to trap with raw foods as well. Just still like eat foods, right? For example, fiber, right? Some like fibrous food, cellulose, will get trapped there. Okay, there will be beneficial bacteria eating it, right? But the same like pocket in the gut. You'll have like large amount of fiber there. It will sit there if it's a trap center. Or will fiber be different for that? And that fiber eventually bacteria will eat it. They will break it down into some compounds too. So I don't know. Unless we eat only the fruit without any like seeds, nuts, and stuff. Because seeds and nuts, they also have like some more complex proteins than fruits, for example. So we're then we're reducing our scope to certain class of those foods because raw food is juicy, hydrating. It doesn't stick and condense like rice and meat. Okay, water absorption does happen in the small intestine. Further. And not raw foods are juicy either. Like nuts are not juicy. By no means. Seeds are not juicy. Bananas are not juicy. Dates are not juicy. One day we'll do a phone call or something. uh, yeah. You see, like we began this thing with the body's resilience to certain things. And this theme kind of like keeps popping in my head, but not for when I'm releasing the plaque, sure. Again, the thing is that, yeah, body literally cleanses itself from like different like bad foods, right? So it starts the emergency evacuation when people eat something that is bad for them. And I understand that, yeah, acute things, they're different from like if a person with food allergy, for example, right, they will have diarrhea, for example, from that. Body will immediately remove it. And things, yes, okay, that are like small irritants that, yeah, get trapped, okay, they may not trigger that response. Eggplant, is it on your plate? No. I mean, I eat it rarely. Eggplant is tasty only when it's cooked to me, so I don't eat it raw. And one of the like treat foods occasionally, but not really often. Zucchini I can eat raw. They're cool and hydrating, juicy. But now can it eliminate it when the gut is so rampantly overloaded and impaired? We're talking pounds of waste. Some people 15 pounds of hard waste. Let's Google it. Okay, where maybe actually. Oh, hello. Off topic. Got an email from Raw Form of Life about raw vegan nutrition calculate, but when I clicked on the link, it didn't get there. Oh, actually, I put it back in the drafts. I'll restore that thing soon. So yeah, it will be in the blog. So fecal stones. A fecalith is a mass of an accumulation of hardened fecal matter that is seen in patients with Chagas disease, Hirschsprung's disease, and inflammatory bowel disease. In this article, we report the case of a 53-year-old female with chronic abdominal pain who was admitted with progressive weight loss near a syncope episode and serum potassium of 2.6 milligrams per deciliter. An abdominal computed tomography scan revealed the left lower quadrant complex mass measuring 10.3 centimeters. Yo. With symmetrical wall thickening and inflammatory stranding, non discarding the compromise of the small bowel and consequent mild small bowel distension. A fecalith of 10.3 by 10.9 by 8.7 centimeter was found during an exploratory laparotomy in the small intestine. We report this rare case of distal jejunum fecalith accompanied by chronic pain. So it's an extreme form. Yeah, it's hilarious food conversation. Yeah. Um, huh. So they went for surgery actually because they couldn't pass it. Getting rid of fecal stones, eating high fiber foods, staying hydrated, and exercising regularly. If necessary, laxatives may be recommended to relieve occasional episodes of constipation. I'm trying to find the common ground between the mucoid plaque and what science has in their discourse. Okay. So no, it's not an extreme one-off. Everyone releases old waste to long-term raw vegans. Mucoid plaque. Some people believe, I'm reading Healthline, some people believe that mucus can build up on the walls of the colon over time. You're some people, guys. So, your colon is the final part of your digestive system. It's responsible for eliminating waste from your body. So, they're not talking about the intestine. They're only talking small intestine. They're only talking about the colon specifically. The theory behind mucoid plaque is that this sticky substance adheres to the walls of the colon. That causes a blockage and makes it more difficult for your body to remove waste. Let's keep reading. Um, is it real? Medical doctors deny any proof of the existence of mucoid plaque. There isn't any evidence that the substance exists or that it causes problems with elimination of waste. The intestines do produce mucus for lubrication, but this mucus is important for the functioning of the intestines and doesn't develop into sticky plaque. The lining of the intestines is an environment for good bacteria, but this microbiome isn't a mucoid plaque as described by those who purport its existence. The gut microbiome is important to a healthy immune system. While there isn't sufficient medical research to recommend treating or removing mucoid plaque, many holistic providers recommend treatment. Always check that holistic providers are licensed in your state to be sure they're applying ethical approaches within practice guidelines. Enemas are gaining popularity for the removal of mucoid plaque because they're believed to remove toxins from the colon. During an enema, a tube is placed in your rectum and water and possibly other substances are flushed through the colon. But there isn't sufficient evidence to recommend their use for anything other than constipation or in preparation for certain medical procedures like a colonoscopy. Dangers of enemas. Other people use juice fasts and cleanses like the master cleanse to detox their bodies and cleanse the colon. Again, there's no scientific evidence to support the use of this method for the removal of mucoid plaque. Why aren't you reporting this? Well, I guess there's so much like I'm super motivated. I'm curious what year this article is written in. It's important to talk to your doctor before trying any of these treatments. Did you talk to your doctor? They can help you determine if any of these treatments are right for you. Proponents of elective colon cleanses believe they're safe with the right provider. However, they can be risky. Cleanses can lead to dehydration and put you at risk of serious infections. I guess it's about enemas because those can do that. So and then they talk about importance of fresh fruits and so on. Then this is Control C, Control V. Article, pretty much. And then they talk about the different like powders and stuff. I'm reading on some other article that I don't want to read it out loud. But it's not. It's already from some like cleansing. It's like detox and rise, Zen cleanse. Stained by a sudden release of bile during the process. Sudden release of bile. Pickles are really interesting. Anyway, I can make some. The recipe? No, I don't. I if I buy pickles, it's rare. I buy bubbies, and otherwise I just eat sauerkraut instead. More nutritious. Mucoid plaque removal costs $150 for 50 minutes to talk about it. Um, Salt is not very recommended. I know. Yeah, that's the thing. I actually want to. I always like give myself a promise that I will try to reduce salt. I mean, from added sources, because I eat enough sodium from foods naturally, organic form. But I'm sometimes I add some salt because yeah, it kind of interferes with other mineral absorption too. Now they talk about liver cleanse. Liver cleanse, by the way, in Russia, oh my god, it was so common. The procedure in which people drink. So basically, a person gets like the heated pad. They take heated pad, they put it on their liver, and they spend the whole day uh, cycling, drinking oil and lemon juice. And so they drink that with a heat pad, and then they start expelling bile. This was a super popular practice in Russia. Some people just swear by it. Uh, I remember that was like, it's called tubage. But it was like this article that I'm currently reading, they talk about the cleanse of the liver, which is purging the bile. And they talk about gallstones. It's actually really dangerous to do if person has gallstones because it's best to dissolve them first and then stimulate the bile extraction. By the way, there was one recipe that if person has gallstones, they can take honey with water in the morning for several days because honey contains naturally occurring hydrogen peroxide that breaks down the gallstones, apparently. Let's see detox kits that they sell. Intestinal cleanse. Let's see. What's in it? $250 for mucoid plaque. And what do they contain? Let's see. I hope this chat didn't make you miss breakfast. It was all NORI. um, no, no, I ate breakfast. I didn't have lunch yet, but I'm too interested right now. What's that? Quantum particles. Gosh, that's a marketing thing. Let's see the ingredients. Ingredients to pass the mucoid plaque. As of that cost, the kit that cost $250. Pineapple, papaya, tangerine, grapefruit, black sugar, natural cane sugar. That's very cleansing. Pumpkin, bitter gourd, Chinese cabbage, tomato, cantaloupe, apple, kiwi, pear, watermelon, mango, dragon fruit, guava, kumquat, orange, strawberry, mulberry, jackfruit, lychee, grape, sugar cane. So except for sugars, it's like raw diet pretty much. Lemon, starfruit, avocado, straw mushroom, mushroom, enoki mushroom, shiitake mushroom, chayote, asparagus, pea, black bean, soybean, corn, sweet pepper, lettuce, spinach, cabbage, cauliflower, dragon beard vegetables, cabbage, mustard, black ear mushroom, yam bear, yam bean, sweet potato, yam, lotus root, black date, hawthorn, mulberry leaf, mint, purslane, roselle, Lactobacillus paracasei, Lactobacillus plantarum, Lactobacillus bifidus. Sure. So, then powder that they're recommending us. Blueberry powder, psyllium husk, agar, apple powder, vegetable and fruit powder, lactic acid powder, protease, glucose powder, so enzymes and fiber. Ingredients in tablets. Pineapple enzyme powder, bromelain powder, apple enzyme powder, papaya enzyme powder, glucose, maltodextrin, vitamin C, lecithin. Fruit enzymes plus glucose. Nice. So this is what is supposed to cleanse the colon. And how is it different from a raw vegan diet? I can eat I eat all of those fruits that they sell me for $250 in whatever capacity with sugars. And their bread is literally mucoid plaque. Why use the cleanse when you can use juice? And exactly how is that different from eating raw? Exactly. Eating raw. Bionity. I don't want your cookies. No, no. Save and exit. Um, Article. Mucoid plaque has been variously described as a complete fabrication without any anatomical basis, non-credible concept, and a bold lie. An article from the Division of Complementary Medicine of the University of Exeter described mucoid plaque and other claims of colonic autointoxication as a triumph of ignorance over science based on old bogus claims and the impressive power of vested interests. Despite the absence of scientific evidence, mucoid plaque is discussed outside the medical community, especially within holistic health circles. In anecdotal accounts of colon hypertension, we already saw this one. I gotta read this article. I'll save it. I'm curious where they will go with that. Oh, criticism. The major criticisms of the concept of mucoid plaque are that it has never been described in the scientific or medical literature, which is a problem. That's what I was saying. I would like to see how it's characterized, what's inside. Um, and that medical doctors report it has never been found in their patients. The existence of mucoid plaque is promoted primarily by people and organizations in the businesses of selling books and products aimed at remedying it. Edward Uthman, a practicing pathologist and adjunct professor of pathology at the University of Texas School of Medicine, has said, on the basis of having examined several thousand intestinal biopsies, this is a complete fabrication with no anatomic basis. Another practicing pathologist, Ed Freelander at Brown University, states, as a pathologist, I have opened hundreds of colons and never seen anything like toxic bowel settlement. Furthermore, in reference to purported photos of expelled mucoid plaque, he writes, sites they have shared include one depicting what I recognize to be a blood clot. It has also been proposed that the bentonite clay found in many popular cleansing products combined with normal fecal matter during its passage through the intestines accounts for the consistency of many of the alleged plaques. Blood clot is like the craziest thing I've seen um, so far. In a 2004 paper by Swarjo and Slaughter on the relationship between lay and medical language uses mucoid plaque as an example of non-credible concepts used by healthcare consumers. An editorial in the Journal of Clinical Gastroenterology described the concept of mucoid plaque as entercolonic autointoxication in general is characterized by false claims, lack of evidence, big money, aggressive advertising, and disregard of risk. Advertisements for some products marketed to cleanse the colon of mucoid plaque claim that autopsy of John Wayne revealed that the actor had over 40 pounds of plaque, fecal material, accumulated in his colon. In fact, an autopsy was never performed on John Wayne. Similar false claims are made about singer Elvis Presley. You got me reading on that again. I'm now on Quora, so it's like already in the weeds. Yeah, okay. So I think we should wrap up on that. I'll do reading on my own in privacy, so to speak. Um, Quora can be really absorbing. Yeah, I wanted to. Oh my god, it's snowing again. We got the fiber. This fire. This is carnage. Uh huh. Yep. So I wanted to reiterate this. If you haven't tried acupressure, it's the super cool thing. I brought it with me today. I wanted to show it to you in the stream because this is something I swear by. Like, if you cannot relax, if you're tense, if your face is tense, if anything is like, if you're just like tired and would like a massage, this, and plus I also have a mat, but it's huge. So I didn't bring it. But it helps to fall asleep. It's just the best thing. And, uh, there is a brand Pranamat that sells those acupressure mats. So basically, what these things are, they're like plastic needles. And so when you lay on this, it distributes your weight. First, it's very painful, but very pleasant afterwards. Very warming sensation. And Pranamat sells very expensive ones. And there are also a bunch of them from some sketchy brands. And I remember the story of this thing. My grandpa always did this therapy. The cool thing you can do with these acupressure things is stand on them. Standing on them is like hyper stimulating thing, unlike when you lay on them. So if you lay on them, you relax and you drift to sleep. If you stand on them, super cool. You can even like put your palms on it and do like some partial handstand because it also stimulates the bioactive points on the hands. So it's amazing. I like put it under my face as well. Also ears have a lot of bioactive points. So I usually like when I lay down, like half of the face and the ear stimulates, it improves blood circulation in the face. So it acts like a massage that doesn't stretch your skin, doesn't require any oils. So it's really cool thing. So I need a mint tea. We'll talk about it this further. Yo, I need water. I'll be back. So throw me a bone, like any other subjects. With all those like mucoid plaque substances, I feel like it's the same as there were some pills, Asian pills, that in the next talk or something. No, I gotta finish this. When we talk about all those like supplements that cause expulsion of it, reminds me of those pills. Basically, they were super popular in Russia because parasite cleanses are super popular thing because like you can blame literally any disease on parasites. And so another thing is that why it's a super profitable business is because they say that you get parasites over and over in your life. So uh, even if you do like parasite cleanse, they come to your body again. What business people did, they were selling some pills. So basically, it's a kit of different pills, and they were saying you take these two pills, and then after 2 days, you take this pill. What happened is that they put some polymers that were shaping inside of the bodily with bodily fluids and in the presence of this third pill into worm-like structures. And so people thought that they were expelling something. And so this was one of the grand businesses um, that was there in Russia. With like very bad medical system, actually all of those like natural practices, they bloom, and sometimes they become breeding ground for all those businesses with interesting approaches. Yeah. Actually reminds me that I need to give my dog some pumpkin seeds with coconut oil. Some person, by the way, on Quora reports that when she passed mucoid plaque, she started having a very hard time passing stools because she felt very irritated from that. Then, if there ain't no like any other like subjects questions, we'll probably start wrapping up. It's 3:30 for me. 90% of today's attendance were 10 votes, so 9 out of 10 people less than 1 year on the roll. Interesting. I guess you already see some results. If anyone who voted wants to share what was the major result of the raw diet for them, if you enjoy this dietary system, drop it in the chat. Okay, well, shoot. Thanks for the fun. I'll leave some essential links for you in the comments that you'll definitely find intriguing. Peace out. Yeah, ciao. It was good to talk to you. Nobody actually mentioned what's his name. There's this classical book that's like 100 years old on juice fasting, juice cleanses. What's his name? Basically, everybody swears by it usually. Whenever you get salt, stay attack. Stay strong and focused. I mean, I don't get salt attacks, by no means. It's just something that I casually do. I mean, I don't have any like cravings for it. I don't care for it like to some insane degree. It just happens to be in some recipes, so I eat some. I literally started eating decomposed salads. That's my favorite thing nowadays because I just wash the greens and just eat them on their own. It's only when you make a salad, when it makes something like epic, that's when it makes sense to add salt. Otherwise, it's not because bitterness and natural saltiness of greens is enough, plenty enough. But you start mixing things together. Plus, also sauerkraut, I buy it from the store, so it contains salt. It's a salted one. If I made it at home, I would probably not use salt. All right, let's wrap up then. And thank you all. Bye.